There you go. All right. Well, thank you very, very much all for coming all the way out here to the moon base. And thank you hugely, Engage, for all the support and for building this thing and helping us brand it. The support we're getting from the whole team from Engage could not be better. So I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, big hands up to Engage. And this feels like home now. Ever since the summit we had here. Anybody hands up if you're here for the summit? Anybody come join us up here? Yeah, a couple of people. Yeah, happy days. So nice one, Brian. So this is the second in a series of events that Educators in VR are doing in Engage, because we love Engage so much, and we also want to walk the talk and be cross-platform. We've kind of pinned our we fly the cross-platform flag, so we feel it important to represent in as many different places as possible. And this is kind of a step in that direction. We were calling it Educators in VR on the road, but this is much more like home than a road trip right now. Okay, today we want to talk, or I want to talk with you about, and some guests about, VR labs. Either you're considering setting one up or you're running one, and I just want to give you a bit of context. So the reason I thought I would share this is because I've spoken to a number of people who are considering this, either small private labs or labs for educational institutions or schools, something like that, or even, you know, enterprises and stuff like that. So the people I've been speaking to, many of them know a lot more than I do. For example, I'm hoping maybe Joe. Oh, there you go, Joe. Nice one. Thanks for coming, man. I'll call you up in a bit, all right? And also we have Jay here. There's a couple of people who know quite a lot about this subject, and I'll be asking them up in a moment. But I am curious to learn myself. This is supposed to be not me kind of giving a presentation to all of you, and you listen to my wise words and go away wiser for it. This is starting a conversation with the community. And I intend to learn as much from you as hopefully you will have learned from all of us together. That's kind of the backbone of Educators in VR, is bringing the community together and sharing the individual knowledge for everybody to learn from it. And so with that in mind, I want to say I am by no means, by no stretch of the imagination, an expert in any way about VR labs, but I find myself in the position of building a lab at college. So I work at Coleg Menai in North Wales, which is a large college. We have 7 sites, and I've luckily been given a budget. I've bought a whole bunch of equipment, and I'm going to show you a picture of my lab later. I'm very proud of it. But that's kind of why I want to learn as well. A little bit about me. I'm Daniel Dyboski-Bryant. I'm co-founder of Educators in VR. Many of you, I hope, will know that. And for those of you who don't, my co-founder and I, my co-founder Laurel and I, we started Educators in VR to bring a community together. We will shortly be becoming a kind of a membership organization. And you're all welcome to join when we switch that live. Right, I move on to the next one. Right, so here's a bit of an overview of what to expect kind of topics-wise. It's very broad. I want to look very briefly at some definitions of what I mean by a VR lab or an XR lab. Show you some very few examples, maybe talk about some examples of, because there's a whole spectrum, of course, of labs that we could talk about. Then I want to look a little bit about what to consider when you're setting up, if you're not yet in the position of having a lab, but you want to try and do that, or you're about to do that. Some pointers about running the lab once it's up, and then kind of backstep a little bit to getting buy-in. So I have been through a journey over the last 2 years. 2 years ago, I put my first headset on, and everything changed. And within days, I decided I'm going to take this to my college, and whether they like it or not, I'm going to make this happen. So over the last 2 years, I've been sowing seeds in people's minds and having discussions and conversations. I've learned a lot about what it takes, or what it can take in my situation, to convince people of the value. So I want to pick your brains and share my story on that as well. And then, yeah, that's kind of a very brief overview. Let me see here. All right. So before we go to the next thing, actually, yeah, let's do that. Chris, could you give us our sofas? And then I'm going to ask a couple of you very lovely people up here By way of showing me your hands, can you show your hands if you either are thinking of starting a lab or you have already started and you're running a lab? I know Joe over here. I would say Jay, Brent, wonderful. Bruce, lovely. Brian over there, yeah, Brian, all right. And I know Tim. Tim probably wouldn't say that of himself, but I consider your setup definitely a lab.
Yeah,
Tim, as we'll be seeing in a minute. He's been posting pictures of running his classes online, and yeah, he's the mad scientist, proverbial. All right, so we got some sofas up here. Tim, yeah, Tim, come up. Joe, come up. Who else we got? We got. Where's Jay? Where's Jay? All right, Jay, you still with us?
Yo, Jay, where's Jay?
Oh yeah, Jay at the back. All right. Will you guys come up and join me? And this doesn't mean that these are the only three guests. I'd like to kind of pick. I know Bruce has got a lab now. Brent has got a lab. I think Brian. So if we're gonna have Q&As and discussion, and I'll be inviting you to speak, and maybe we can swap in and out some of the guests. It's gonna be quite relaxed, I hope. All right. Yeah, you need to
there you go.
teleport. So probably your left
right
thumb button. Oh, right. Sorry, right thumb button.
Sorry, for
pointed at
Tim,
the
it's his right mouse button for Tim.
Okay, right mouse button. So, Joe, what device are you sporting today? The Neuralink integration. Sorry. Okay. So, let's give you a mic first of all. Where's Joe?
All right, and I'll get Joe on there. Where's
Joe?
So
Tim's got
Joe.
a mic. And I'm gonna.
Joe, you're good,
off.
Joe.
All right.
And
yeah, I can hear you, Joe. Lovely. What device are you?
So this is Quest, yeah. So
the Quest.
Taking most of our boxes home because we're working from
Yeah.
home at the moment. So
Sure. Right. So on your right controller, Joe, the top button. No, the bottom round button is your teleport. If you point it at the sofa. Yeah, right at the sofa. It should highlight and then it'll snap you in. Almost. Oh, Chris,
seated,
is that to do with standing?
Yes. Hey, Joe, what you're gonna do is pull up your. Yeah, that works.
Oh, he said that. Oh, okay. That's all right. That's even better.
That works.
Yeah, you can either physically sit down, or there's a setting, Joe, which will sit you down, which will simulate sitting. So for that, you would bring up your tablet or your menu.
Go to
on the
VR
right-hand
mode.
side. Yeah, on right-hand column, VR mode. And what is it, Chris? Is it
and then seated mode simulated standing.
Seated mode simulated standing, and
then
then
once
point
you
your
select
controller at
that,
the
now
sofa.
you can point at the sofa and teleport to it, and you'll sit.
Yeah, great.
Might need to back up from the sofa a little bit. There you go. Now aim there. Aim your teleport. There you go.
There you
awesome.
go. Right.
You got it. Yep.
Lovely. So, okay. Where am I at? So I'm here. Right. I have to do it this way. 1 second. So almost there. It's like learning to walk in here. Okay. Right.
We'll all end up sitting on each other.
Yeah, you get the hang of it, Joe. There you go. Okay. All right. So now if you have a look down, Joe, you kind of morph with the sofa. If you can just shuffle your chair forward, then you kind of adjust. There you go. Almost.
Perfect.
There you go. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
And just one last thing, Jay, if you'd like to manually turn your microphone mute on and off, we're getting a lot of environmental noise on your end.
Yeah. Jay,
and
are
when
you wearing
talk,
headphones?
just unmute yourself. There you go. Perfect.
Headphones can sometimes help to, okay, if you're doing that, all right. Lovely. So before we start the discussion, just want to introduce yourselves a little bit. Joe's a good friend of mine. He's from Tafe, New South Wales in Australia. He did me a super solid favor, which I will never forget. And also at the summit, you led the expanding the minds in the metaverse. You led the panel on that, which was you did wonderfully well for us. And I've asked him here today because you'll explain about your background. In the middle, we've got my friend Jay. He's from Slough, just west of London. Also a very good friend of Chris Long's, for those of you who knew Chris Long. And he runs Immersive Computing Labs out of there. So Immersive Computing Labs is quite pertinent, obviously, to today. And then my friend Tim here, who's in Kent. What's the name of your college, Tim?
It's Broadstairs College.
Broadstairs College, right? And when I
Yep.
first met Tim about a year ago, we were having various conversations, and
That's
we
right.
felt like kids in the toy store. And I remember Tim always being, I don't know if it was reluctant, but I think all eager, but not quite sure, like if how this was all going to work. And
Yeah.
Tim stepped right up for the summit. He's now leading our one of our diversity tracks, and
That's right.
also he's just spent a whole week, now 2 weeks, is it, Tim?
Yeah, just got into the
Teaching
second
full-
week.
Amazing, teaching his
Wow.
full schedule in VR. So
Yeah, 21
wonderful.
hours of teaching a week.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, Joe, do you want to say a couple of words of your background and why I might have
Sure.
chosen you for this discussion?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I've got a pretty diverse background. I come from animation, film, and games over the last 20 years. Before this current role, I was at 3M. I was setting up global immersive exploration, I guess you'd say, at 3M. And then last 2.5 years, I've been running the innovation lab at Tafe New South Wales. Tafe
Right.
New South Wales is the largest vocational trainer in the Southern Hemisphere. We have 500,000 students, 134 campuses, and the lab focuses mainly on the exploration of immersive technologies. We're also a production house now too, and I can talk a little bit later of why that is as well.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joe. So yeah, your lab essentially is working towards catering with immersive experiences for up to 500,000 students in the long run. That's kind of the idea. So that gives you kind of an idea of what a big lab might involve. And then, Jay, do you want to tell us a little bit about your immersive computing labs? Yeah, you'll have to unmute yourself again while we do that. There you go. Okay. Should be good now. Can't hear you though. Why is that? Let me see. Where's Jay? Okay. Huh. There
you
we
hear me?
go.
Good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you're good. All right.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been supplying pop-up labs for schools, colleges, libraries, and care homes.
Yeah.
Been doing it for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
And it's about setting up the labs, supporting the organizations and the right type of content, making sure they get licensed content. And in the Thames Valley now, we've reached about 19,000 students in the last few years.
Amazing.
So been quite busy
Fantastic. And so you said that's a pop-up lab. I'd like to ask you a little bit more about that later on. Remind me about that. That's
with that.
interesting.
Sure.
Okay. And Tim, I am hereby knighting you as a lab technician, a lab owner. Go on, tell us about your setup.
Oh no, you're beefing me up, but it's not that great. Okay, so my name is Tim Jackson. I run the higher education computing programs at Broadstairs College, which is part of the East Kent College Group. It's based in Kent, which is in the southeast of England. And basically, I have designed and built about 4 or 5 different labs at the college now, ranging from networks to security to games labs. Our latest one is a VR lab, a physical VR lab with several bits of kit in it. But then, of course, we were getting ready to do all our practicals, and then suddenly we got shut down because of the coronavirus, and everyone went, "Oh my God, what do we do?" Well,
Yeah.
I've been working with Daniel for over a year now, and the most obvious thing to do was just to move everything to VR. So my 21 hours of teaching, I've now moved into VR. So I've got 47 students I'm
You're
teaching
nuts.
every
You're
week
absolutely nuts.
for like 10 or 12 different topics, ranging from robotics to games to networking to security, all in the Engage platform and AltSpace VR.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Well done.
Crazy.
Lovely.
Amazing.
And it's a lot of
Hats off.
fun. A lot of
Hats
fun.
off. Wonderful. Okay, so I want to start, first of all, Chris, am I able to bring up a second version for us here of the slides behind us so that people don't have to spin
Absolutely.
around?
I'll take
That
care
would
of
be
that.
cool. Thank you very much. Okay, so I just very briefly want to say a couple of words about how I am defining XR now. So XR for me is very broad. Anything that can be immersive, including, thank you very much, can be smaller than that if you like, but yeah, great. So XR, I include VR, AR, MR, XR, the whole thing, and I don't want to get into the whole discussion of what's what, but I'm keeping it quite broad on purpose. And then with regards to labs, it's quite similar. My definition of a lab, it sounds grand and special and crazy scientist type thing, but for me, a lab is there's a whole spectrum. It's right down to one computer, one headset, and maybe a mobile phone, right up to a fully industrial enterprise setup that some of the high-end universities have, or big companies. I'm sure HTC and so on have crazy labs, and probably also actually Engage. I'd love to come see your lab someday, which probably distributed because you're working immersively. And also, of course, I have, short story. We had tickets, Joe, I was going to tell you, we had tickets to fly to Australia. I was going to come and visit you in your lab, but got shut down because of coronavirus. So we're deferring our tickets to next year. So hopefully, if that's possible next year, going to come out and see you out there. So, and also want to pick up on your AltSpace VR lab in a little bit. But so labs can be anything, right down from the small, right up to the big. And that's kind of how I'm casting this conversation a little bit. I think enough said about that. There you go. Then we have just a couple of examples here. So you can see here, there's quite a lot of detail in here. Looks quite high end to me. They have some haptics going on. Far too many cables for me. But that looks, I think actually that's, I forgot to credit this. Yeah, I forgot to credit this. This is NASA training in immersive labs. You can see they have some kind of bottles on their head or something like that. And then this is kind of opposite spectrum. This is a lady in a library engaging with VR, and they have a big display screen there. For me, that also counts as a lab. Yeah, okay. And then I want to show you my lab. I'm very proud of this. This is the current state of my lab. So this was the day before I was going to move into my lab in college, and we got a nice, quite a visible room in the college. But obviously they got it shut down, and I had all these boxes lying around. It left me a bit high and dry, which I was a bit disappointed about. However, I turned it around. I said to my manager, get these 40 Quests. So I got given 40 Quests, 3 laptops, a bunch of 3D cameras and so on. And there's some other equipment coming. I said, get these to whoever wants one, and I will send them emails, email group, and get them to AltSpace. So I've been doing that over the last 2 weeks, getting some managers into AltSpace. I'm getting some students into AltSpace. Would have wanted to bring them into Engage, but I can't sideload it from a distance. Be doing that when I come back. So this is kind of the outer fringes, what I count as a lab there. All right. The rest of the slides are really just talking points. So I'm aware that we're in VR, and I would like this to be all singing and dancing experiential. And I've come in here at the risk of doing death by PowerPoint. I just want them to be talking points for us here, on the couches, but also with the audience. So a couple of words about room and space. And before we go through these as a list, maybe Joe, what considerations did you have to think of when you chose your space or when you first set up?
Well, the challenge we had was we actually, the team was recruited after the space had been decided, which made it a bit. So one big thing we had to do was, and you've got glass up there. That can be a challenge depending on tracking. So we had these huge glass windows, but luckily they had lines. But the back space had these weird louver windows which have a lot of light penetrating. We actually had to retrofit the whole wall because we wanted a green screen space as well. Yeah. So my team actually went and, on the weekends came in and blocked out the whole section of the wall and created their own green screen. Okay. But it's the considerations for us. What the space we're in now is not ideal. If I was to start from scratch, and we're actually in the process of we're potentially moving in the next 6 months. We're going to design the space in VR. Yeah. And bring in. Nice. So we're bringing in the right technologies. We're seeing what we're doing, and as we're advancing, the needs are going to change. So I've got much more sophisticated work happening now, where I've got one of my team members, creating real electronics, and he's building his own haptics. And
I saw a video of that. Yeah, he was bored at home with a shutdown and all haptics going.
I've also got a dedicated audio specialist with Liam. So he needs to have his own audio space, but as the lab matures, the needs will change, and I think that's something that needs to be understood. Is
interesting.
Start out with a couple of you start out with a couple of headsets, but you'll find that you'll outgrow your original space pretty quickly.
Right.
And the hope is obviously through success.
Right.
That's really important.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. So you're saying you're kind of outgrowing or you're moving out and you might want to consider having space to move into as you develop. That's interesting. Okay. Jay, I want to pick up on your pop-up labs. That sounds like you're quite flexible to fit into whatever space you're given with libraries and schools. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's right. One of the first labs we set up was with Chris Long at Langley College.
Yeah.
So that was part of the VR course that we set up.
Yeah.
And we had a very good sized space there. That was in part of the Generation Lab at the college. And then on the pop-up side of things, we've done labs from a few days all the way through to a recent one we did at an art centre, which was for 8 months. So pretty much every single day. So yeah, we make sure that we've got the flexibility with that.
I want to pick up on the way you're doing it. So when you say pop-up, you bring all the equipment to the people who want you, and you stay there as long as they want you to be there, and that can be a day or weeks or months. Is that right? Is it?
Yeah, so it's a mixture really. So we have clients that actually want to set up their own, but the majority of them, the ones we've been helping out with, is with their own kit. So we source the kit. Now it's obviously moving more over to standalone, but when we originally started, it was very much with the PC-based HTC Vive and Oculus Rifts.
Right, interesting. Okay. And Tim, I think I remember a conversation with you, Tim, where you were setting up 2 labs. And one of the labs you'd hidden somewhere in the college and your manager didn't know. I remember you telling us
hang
about
on,
that.
this is being recorded. Hang on a minute.
that never happened, that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I just want to very quickly pick up on a point that Joe said, actually, that's very, very true. A lab is whatever you want it to be, and you start off as small as you can manage, and you build from there. If you start too big, you end up losing yourself, and you end up getting all the wrong type of kit, and you then think, well, what am I going to do with this? And that's kind of what happened with us.
Good point.
I was on holiday in Cyprus, and I had an email from our principal who said, Tim, tell me about VR and the kit we can buy. And so I told him about all the different types of kit that you could buy. And then I came back in end of August, and blow me, he said, oh, by the way, I ordered that kit you told me. And I said, well, hang on, what are we using it for? And basically, we're running a project. We're running a project to support a whole range of students from a whole range of backgrounds with loads of different learning needs to help them communicate better and become more effective learners. Yeah. And he'd gone out and bought all this kit, and he said to me, Tim, now it's up to you to do something with it. So that's what we did. We built a lab. We got and this is the thing with the college, you've got to have a static space where people can come to. Although I think Jay's idea of a pop-up lab is an amazing idea, actually. But the college where I'm at, it has to be fairly static. We've got maybe 3 or 4 of these static areas. But I seem to have this knack of being able to spend people's budgets. So I was able to spend his budget on what he wanted, and that gave me some ideas in the games units that I teach. Wouldn't it be great if I could implement VR in that? So I actually built a second lab as part of one of my other labs that the college didn't know about straight away. They do know about it now, if I can just point that out.
Didn't want to get you in trouble there.
But
no, that's really interesting.
They didn't know about it, and it's great because I've now got these 2 VR environments that are totally different.
Brilliant.
One being used to teach students, and the other one being able to support students, and it's very, very interesting.
That's interesting. Okay, I'm kind of in between. So I also I did a lot of research into what equipment I needed to run the project I've been seconded to do, but I was very aware that the equipment I want to use for that particular project can also deliver so much more for the college. So just because I'm using it, when I'm not on the project, I want to make that available to the college. And I'm in a position where our college is about to move campus. So the existing campus we're on is going to be demolished. So they've given me a very nice visible room, quite prime location of the college, but I'm only going to be there for a year. So I've had to set up in a way where everything is mobile. Like the only thing that's going to be fixed is a big display screen on the wall. Everything else is either going to be on wheels or just like untethered kind of stuff. So I like this idea of pop-up and being quite flexible. Okay, I've just a couple of pointers there. And I should say, please, part of the idea for running this project is that I want to, from the conversations we've had here today, I want to then go away and write up a bit of a document that I'll share with the community on our website or whatever. So please, if you have any things you want to add, either raise your hand or reach out to me after the event, and give me any pointers or resources you think might be useful. Quick pointer there, swivel chairs. Most of you, this will be obvious why, because VR, you're spinning around. Bright, a lot of light and good fresh air. And like Joe said, be careful for a lot of glass because of the tracking that can be reflecting, can throw your tracking off. All right, well, we'll move on to the next one. I've made a long list here of things that I consider, I hope you can all see it, it's not too small. I don't want to go through it all, but it starts with the obvious, with its headsets, PCs, and laptops. Tablets, phones for some AR and AR glasses. Screens, this is important. If it's not already obvious, people put a headset on, you don't know what they're doing, and nobody else around them knows what they're doing. So if you can hook their experience up to a display, now you've connected with their experience. Also helps with monitoring students, making sure they're kind of not freaking out or doing stuff you don't want them to be doing. For me, I'm really passionate about cameras, 360 cameras, 180 cameras, 3D. Some of them start as low as $200, $300, $400, $500, goes right up to $50,000. But they're so versatile and so easy to start creating. One of my favorite tools for getting into the mix. Green screen, Joe was talking about. This is where most of you will know what this is, but essentially you're able to superimpose anything you want into a picture, into a frame, or you can kind of cancel things out. So you could have somebody in VR standing, their real person with the headset on, and behind them was Beat Saber, and they're playing like that. Gets used a lot in FX for movies. Photogrammetry equipment. If you don't know what photogrammetry is, I'm super excited about this. You essentially take a camera, take thousands of pictures of a particular thing, maybe that vase or vase, or even then you plug it into some very clever software, and it takes all the pictures and creates a 3D model that you can then bring in. And it sounds a bit techy if you haven't come across it before, but it's relatively straightforward. Takes a bit of getting used to and getting right. But a very, very cool way to digitalize anything. And the same with volumetric equipment. That's almost, well, the definition's a bit blurry, but volumetric allows you to capture somebody's movement and bring that into VR. So essentially holograms, one of us could be in the real world. We could be volumetrically capturing that, can place that volumetric capture here on the table, and we would see, for example, who am I thinking of? My partner, Laurel Van Fossen. Oh, nice light. Thank you, Chris. Laurel Van Fossen, but in her real person, digitally represented, which would be quite exciting. I think, is Chris trying to do something here? This is an upload. I think, okay, this is probably worth waiting for. He's about to bring something in.
It's just a little photogrammetry example.
There you go. Perfect. Right. We're going to see an example there. Oh, there you go. Perfect. That's a perfect example. Where is this? This was Arizona, didn't you say, Chris?
This is in Utah, I believe.
Utah.
Firehouse Ruins, I believe.
Yeah, lovely. That's beautiful. So this is very, very well done. Somebody's gone there with a camera, taken lots and lots of pictures of, must be thousands of years old, I imagine. Some settlement somewhere, and you can bring that into VR.
Yeah, this is from the Burcastle team. They brought that in.
Hands up from Burcastle. Who's here from Burcastle? There you go, Jared. Nice one. Great work. Okay, thank you for that, Chris. And the other two things I want to mention is haptics and motion. So that's by no means a comprehensive list. Anyone want to add anything to this list? Maybe from the audience, anything you consider kind of being part of an immersive lab? Motion, I should say. That's kind of treadmills and stuff like that. Joe, anything you want to add to this one?
Essential piece of kit now is our clean boxes.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
hygiene
definitely.
for us.
Very good point. Yeah.
Sharing headsets.
We're not picking up some of your audio, Joe, for some reason. Have you got like a headset headphones with a microphone in, or are you going off
No,
the?
but it's
Yeah, it's cutting out in and out a little bit.
let me just check one.
There you go. There you go. You sounded good there.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
kind of in and
Keep
out.
going. Yeah. Yeah. This is something we've noticed. Yeah. Go on, Joe. You wanted to say CleanBox was an essential piece of equipment. I couldn't agree more. CleanBox is a very popular solution at the moment. It uses UV light to quite quickly and thoroughly disinfect your headsets, and also it blows off particles and stuff like that. I've ordered one from my lab. I can't really operate now without one. I would consider, and I imagine there'll be other people jumping in on that. We might be inviting the woman from CleanBox on in a week or two as well. But yeah, good point. I should add CleanBox to that. Thank you very much. Jay and Tim, anything you want to add to this list?
The only thing I was going to say was about having a variety of headsets because they all do something slightly different. So depends on what it is you're trying to achieve will depend on what headset you use. That's the only thing I would say.
That's a good point. And I think one of the things we'll come to later is when you're setting up a lab is kind of what kind of a lab, or what's the purpose of your lab. Some labs might be there to engage with the public, and you already have your experiences set up. Other labs might be much more R&D, which I think you have a lot of R&D elements to it, right? So obviously labs have a whole spectrum. So yeah, if you're delivering content as part of your lab, then you may have only one set of headsets or one brand of headsets. If you're doing a lot of R&D, I know, Joe, you have probably every headset going right now. I think you get early releases sometimes as well. Yeah, obviously, if you're doing a lot of R&D, depending on what you're using it for, you want to have a range. It's a very good point. Thank you. And that would go, I think, for probably a lot of the equipment. If you're doing a lot of R&D, you'd want a range of all the equipment. And that's, for the techier people in here, that's a nice problem to have. If you're running a big lab with a budget and you have to do R&D, constantly getting new kit and equipment. But on the other hand, I imagine the more equipment you have, the harder it is to keep track of it, and so many steep learning curves with each one of them can be probably a bit of a pain in the ass as well. I don't know.
We also retired a bunch of equipment to our classrooms.
Okay.
This year.
Okay.
All of our vials are now in classroom.
Okay.
Because we're
Interesting.
not using those vials anymore, so put them out to our animation school.
Right. Okay. If you didn't hear that, Joe was saying that some of the Vive equipment has gone into classrooms, so out of R&D but into usage, and then you're updating your R&D headsets with newer models. Jay, anything else you would want to add to this list?
No, I think it's quite comprehensive.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's good.
Anyone from the audience, hands up if you want to add anything at this point. No. Okay. Well, I wasn't too far off the mark then. Right, let's have a look. I'm also aware that time is flying. Oh, this is just, I just brought this in. I think this is 4 or 5 to 3 or 4 different devices that allow you to do volumetric capture and depth structure sensors and so on. This is exciting technology. It allows you to 3D scan stuff and bring that real world stuff into VR quite quickly. Some of these devices are not too expensive, like under the £1,000 mark, dollar mark as well. Okay, very briefly want to go over software. This will depend, I think, a lot on whether you're doing a lot of development or not, or whether you're delivering more experiences. In both cases, you need to consider licenses. But with regards to development, and I want to put my hands up here, I'm by no means a developer. I want to get my hands into Unity, maybe a bit of Unreal, a couple of things like that. But are those really the two standards, Unity and Unreal? Or is there any other big ones that need to be considered for kind of what we consider immersive VR? Joe, what do you think? I'm not hearing your mic again, my friend. Not sure why. Oh. Yeah, maybe mute and then come back again. I think it's something to do with the Quest sometimes. Try again.
Is that better?
I can hear you, but the mic is just sometimes a bit tinny.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's weird. It's coming and going. But okay, keep going.
I'd say yes. Unreal and Unity are your only real choices. They're industry standards.
Yeah.
Everything else is still an experimental stage.
Yeah.
Like Amazon Sumerian or any of these other platforms, trying to get developers that know the language is probably a biggest challenge.
Right. Okay. So you think Unity and Unreal is probably 90%, and there's a lot of innovation going around, but they're the heavy lifters, let's say. Okay. All right. Anyone else want to give a shout out to a particular type of VR development platform? Yeah, I think Jared at the back. Can we get Jared's microphone? Let me just, come on up if you want, Jared, or we'll switch your microphone on. Where's Jared?
Got him. I got him.
Yeah, all right, Jared. Yeah,
So,
please.
Jared, you just need to unmute yourself. There you go.
There you go.
One program, Unity and Blender. Those are two programs I use, is Unity and Blender. Blender to create the object, and then Unity to modify it and port it into wherever I need it.
So Blender. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be adding that. We had someone else lift their hand up. Yeah, Brendan. Yes, please. Can we try and get your mic before Chris does it? See if I can get fast like that. All right. There you go. And switch that off. We were competing for his mic.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, awesome. One that I have heard of is Unigen as well.
Unigen.
Too.
Okay.
Yeah, Unigen. I know that Unity and Unreal have their free versions.
Yeah.
I believe Unity or Unigen has a trial and you can work with them, but they do have more paid for versions. But very good game engine as well too for VR.
Unigen. I'll be adding that. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Anyone else? We got Eric here in the front. Right. Eric.
Got him.
Yeah, you got You're too fast for me. Go on.
A-Frame WebXR is going to be make some strides soon, and could be interesting things coming out of that space as well, I think.
Thank you for that. I can't believe I missed WebXR. I'm a huge fan of WebXR, not because of the development side of things. Has Joe either left or kind of sat himself down because of mic issues? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he'll be back. No, but thank you, Eric, for pointing that out. WebXR obviously is the VR and AR running on the web, on the internet. And whilst it is not quite as high performance as something like this at the moment, there's a lot of work going into it. Devices are getting faster. Hopefully 5G will help us speed things up. So I have high hopes for WebXR. Thank you. And A-Frame, framevr.io is run by a guy called Gabriel Baker. He has something, you can check that out, framevr.io. And it's a very, very slick tool for kind of VR presentations on the web. It's quite nice. All right. Yeah, licenses. I'm finding licenses a bit of a nightmare. Sorry, Sue. Miss S, are you coming up because you want to say something, or because you're sliding on your thumbstick? Sorry, I don't want to overlook you if you got something to say.
Oh, can you hear me there now?
Yep.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay.
I was a little bit afraid that I might be muted the whole time because I'm actually not in VR right now. I'm on a laptop, so I don't think I can raise my hand.
Sorry, yeah, I should have thought.
I'm sorry if I was being obnoxious there.
No. All good.
I'm not sure how much of the audience might be K to 12 as opposed to higher education or more kind of professional areas. But we're looking at building a technology lab, including VR, and we're looking at using an application called CoSpaces, and it's a really user-friendly, designed for kids, runs right in the browser, and VR spaces can be programmed not only with, I think it's Java, but also with a block-based coding that's really easy and accessible even for young kids.
Yeah. So CoSpaces, that's a very good one. I like it because it's very accessible, and you can get, I think you can start with a free license and then you can pay for seats. I had a look into it, and the integration for developing it in 2D and then jumping into their own creations, that's always nice for kids. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thanks.
Brent, I think we got another question from Brent, or a contribution from Brent. Yeah, get your mic. There we go. Okay. You should be good there, Brent.
Hey. One thing I wanted to add into that is it's not as professional, but 3D sculpting inside VR from apps like Masterpiece VR, that can also be a really great way to kind of create these assets that learning or getting into development, they can create their own assets quickly, and it's pretty fun.
Absolutely. And actually, on that note, Steve Bambury has a really good resource about all the different creation tools, I think. Virtualityteach.com is a good website for these kind of things as well. Yeah, I agree with you, Brent. There are lots of in-world development platforms or tools, if you like, multi-user shared platforms, which I love. I was considering more on these kind of software side from developing applications as opposed to creating stuff in world, but absolutely good point. And maybe I should add a whole slide to creation software like that. Okay.
Daniel, can I just mention something?
Yes, go on, Tim.
So sorry, Daniel. I was just going to say, we use Unity at the college. It's got a really useful plugin for VR. So you can design in 2D. You can create 2D side scrollers, for example, and then port them straight into VR. And it's a very, very useful feature. Unity and Unreal are the two main players, as we've already said. And I think the others that we've mentioned are either creation tools or are platforms for using creation tools. And I think this is the problem with software. That there's so many applications out there. And I was talking to Julie Smithson today, and she was saying that she's aware of over 50 already. And I think you're just getting market saturation at the moment, and this is the problem with hardware and software. And the best bit of advice I was always given was this: make your choice at the beginning, stick to it. And otherwise you're just going to end up confusing yourself. And then once you're established, then you can start expanding out and deciding what you want to do next.
I think there's a wise words. The only thing is, in order to be able to make a decision, you have to make an informed decision. So there will be a point, where you have to look at different options. But I agree. If you spread yourself too thinly, you end up probably
very confused.
I could imagine that, unless you got a huge team and you can assign one person to each one. Okay. Where time is flying, I'm having fun here. I want to just briefly kind of mention a couple of other considerations that I've had to consider. Joe, you're right. Remember, it's your there you go. That was all
you had it.
Yeah.
I had it. No.
There you go.
There you go. Cool. All right. That's all right. Yeah, better. Yeah. Did you come on a different device? Lovely.
No, I put some white headsets on.
Oh, nice one.
Perfect.
Much better. Thank you, man. Okay. Yeah. So internet capacity obviously is fundamental. Then we have firewalls. I tried to run Engage in my college and AltSpace. And for a while it wasn't working. I had to talk to my tech team. They had to free up some ports, or I don't know, firewall. That's not my area, but they sorted it out. And I've heard a lot of people report that back, that can be an issue. So just be aware of that going in.
I can definitely confirm that as well, because we had to take our labs we had to take off the college network altogether, and we had our own access through the firewall, and it's quite complex, and you had to open all sorts of ports, which is my area.
Be nice to your IT department.
Definitely be nice to the IT guys, definitely.
Okay. And then something
can we get Chris to increase the size of that screen just so we can
that one is that was my bad, Chris. Some of the there, thanks, man.
There we go.
There we go. If you're considering working in an educational institution or organization anywhere, you're also going to have answers ready for when people ask you, what about privacy and what about security here? I don't have those answers necessarily, but that's going to be an issue, and maybe something as a community we can pull some resources around as well. One of the first things I got asked when I said, oh, this is an Oculus Quest, is that, oh, who makes that? Oh, it's owned by Facebook. Oh, Facebook, that's going to be an issue. So I've got away with it for now, but that's something that a lot of educational institutions, they just can't even touch Facebook fundamentally.
I think the interesting thing with that, Facebook's been really good with separating the Oculus environment. So they're using their workplace version of Facebook.
Right.
I've forgotten the name of it now, but so they're very conscious of the appearance. I'm working with the global head of education for Facebook with Oculus to ensure, as we start to look at, they haven't really understood, and neither has HTC, to be honest. They don't really understand the education sector yet. They're still thinking enterprise is where everything's going to be. But I think privacy will become, this year will be the start of it.
Good. That's good to hear. Yeah, I know, because you can log into your Oculus Quest either with the Oculus account or a Facebook account, and is that what makes the difference if you don't link it to Facebook?
Yeah, well, the enterprise grade version uses Workplace as opposed to Facebook, so that's what they're going to be doing is make, and Workplace is completely encrypted inside your environment, so Facebook can't see that data. So at the moment we're all using consumer headsets. But we're working with Facebook on what does an education version of the headset look like, because at the moment we haven't really thought that out yet.
Thanks for that work with Oculus. You set them straight. I remember meeting Joe and telling me that he had just met with Oculus, and they were asking, how many headsets are you going to need, Joe? 10, 15, 20? And when he turned around, I'm going to be needing $5,000 as a first order, 5,000 as a first order, something like that. And they almost fell off their seat. So nice to have a big player having conversation with Oculus. Okay. Monitoring, but what I mean by that is that comes back to the screen. If you've got a bunch of students in headsets or the public headsets, you really want to be able to see what they're doing. So to be able to cast or link it to a screen, to have just that view into their experience is quite important. That's something I consider. Maintenance of devices, I haven't had that problem yet. Maybe you guys can tell us a little bit about that. And also, updates are a pain in the ass at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, updates, I was going to say. Play updates.
Yeah.
Updates and batteries.
I'm aware of one or two solutions where I think it's Up 360. So you can sign your devices up to an account, and then you can remotely have the updates take place. There's one called Grove Learning, which is quite cool in that area. And there's one Up 360. Which is quite cool. There, content management and device management. There's a real need for that. Some good solutions in education. Jay, what do you think? Maintenance and updates. Any comments about that?
No, I mean we've had those challenges where especially working in public libraries. The issue what you mentioned earlier about ports. So sometimes we've had to do updates offsite with a solid connection. Otherwise, you just can be there for such a long time.
Yeah. Okay. Joe, anything about maintenance updates?
Yeah. So we've been again talking with Facebook. They've got the enterprise version of their mobile device management platform. But it's still super early, and to be honest, all of these vendors are crazy early. So things like Grove and a few others are stopgaps that are filling in for the vendors where they haven't worked out how to do this. With maintenance, we've had a few dead headsets. Having a really good reseller or distributor is really helpful, because we just send it back to them and they work out that challenge. So
working with resellers rather than the manufacturers themselves, is that what you're recommending?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, because you've got a middleman where you can say, throw the headset
your
at them
problem.
And say, get me in. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
One.
Very good point. I like that a lot. I'm going to remember that one. I'll put that in. Find a good reseller with support. Yep. Okay. All right. Well, I'm aware time is flying, and I got a couple of more slides I want to go through. Anyone else want to say something on this? Yeah, Brent over there. Let's get your mic free, Brent.
Real quick, too, Daniel. If
Chris,
there is a PC user without a headset, see this red arrow pointing at a mic. Just come up to the mic, and we'll catch you there.
Okay. Oh, so that's if somebody's on the PC, they can.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. All right. Thank you. That's cool. So Brent, you wanted to say something.
So that's a perfect list, but one thing I always have a problem with is account management. I would say that's something you need to watch out for as well.
Can you be more
Yeah,
specific?
that's
I think
great.
I know what you mean, but please.
Well, multi-users using one account or account password management as well, who has access to the passwords to verify new logins.
Yes.
That's a pretty big consideration too.
Yeah, I missed that off that list. Very good point. That's a bit of a headache for me at the moment. Brendan, Brendan, get your mic there. Okay, should be good, Brendan. You have to unmute yourself, I think. There you go. Yeah. One more time. There you go.
Am I good? Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, good. All right.
Yeah, and on that list, going through monitoring as well.
Yeah.
Springboard is a very good company. They're actually Springboard VR. They're a backend API, and they deal with a lot of monitoring screens all at one time, getting people in at one time. And I believe they work with a lot of VR arcades at the moment as well too. But they've been trying to expand out.
Very good point for that. I will be adding that to the list. Thank you for pointing that out. Anyone over here? Jared, Brian, you guys? Brian, is that you waving to say hello, or is that your controller freaking out somewhere? I think
you got you unmuted, Brian. You're good.
All right.
Okay. I was just going to ask, with Spring, are they doing work with those two?
Mike,
see, sorry, he was cutting out a little bit.
Say your question again, Brian.
One more time.
I'm wondering if they're working with Oculus Quest.
That is so we asked them about that, and I think they were saying they tried to have something in the works. Right now, they had been working with the Pico group. Yep. I know that a lot, but I haven't heard much on the Quest and Oculus.
Okay.
But hopefully soon. I would enjoy it with that for sure.
I asked the same question, and the answer was that they are trying, they want to, and they hope that it will be coming. That was the answer I got. Okay, cool. Okay, let's see what's next. We've got people, obviously very important when you're building a lab. The lab is there for the people. Depending on the nature of your lab, you're going to have some developers and some technicians. In my case, and for education, when I'm delivering experiences and learning experiences, then I will be doing a lot of trainers. I'll be training trainers up to take take the devices out to classrooms. So that's really important. Admin, depending on the size, you might be doing that yourself. If you have a big lab, I'm sure Joe, you have admin, right?
Oh, we're just about to recruit a new guy, so we lost our admin, but we've got another guy or girl. Hopefully, we're going to have someone very shortly.
Yeah, good luck with that. Okay. Then the reason I bring up staff, learners, and public, those are the people who on the other end kind of receiving the experiences. That's what I mean by that. In my case, staff is kind of the first wave of people I'll be engaging with, because I want to raise their awareness, give them good experiences and some basic understanding and training. Then I want to engage with learners, or it might be if you're in a laboratory, in a library setting or some kind of community setting, you might be dealing with the public. Yeah, Tim, any thoughts on that list and people in VR labs?
I think it's quite interesting. It does depend on the size of your lab. You will know this yourself, Daniel, that when you're in education, the minute you say you've got an idea or you want to run a lab or you want to build something, it's kind of all down to you. And you do everything. You're the admin, you're the monitor, you're the moderator, you're the developer, you're the maintenance guy, you're everything. And I think the thing I've noticed is that your users, whoever they are, see the end product. They see the set working with the software installed, with the updates applied. What they don't see is everything that goes into that, and that takes an inordinate amount of time. So lucky for you guys if you've got somebody who will do that for you. You need a lab tech. We don't actually have a lab tech at the moment. It's just me doing it. And when you're teaching the hours you're teaching, and then you're having to do that as well, it's quite a challenge. So
I'll say this though, Tim, all those skills that you're developing right across the board right now will make you invaluable, mate. You're due a pay rise soon.
We'll see. Can we show this recording to the principal? That'd be great.
Yeah,
all I would say is that when you're running a lab, just make sure you've got the right staff in place, because it does take a long time. And if you want to get it done right, and you want everything working properly, you do need to have dedicated staff to do it. But I think the list you've got there, it covers quite a good range of people.
I was going to maybe
put
in management.
The hygiene is really important for that.
Yeah, I was going to put in maybe management as well, because you have to deal with management, make sure they get out your way.
They need to understand it in some way, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true, very true. Jay, because you're in a slightly different setting, do you have any other thoughts on people?
Yeah, so with regards to ourselves, we work with a lot of students. So some of the students that we've been helping train up, they've actually been coming out and helping us with commercial clients. So it's been sometimes it's for work experience, and sometimes actually give them some additional job roles to do. We're fortunate. Sorry.
No, that's a very interesting point, and I'd like to pick up on that. And this would be coming to, I think, in the next slide. My approach at our college is to engage with the staff and engage with the learners, and I want to develop a bit of an academy style approach to it. So anybody who comes in gets induction, and then they get orientation phase, and there's a bit of a program, they work their way up the steps and so on. But once they reach a certain level, then I might say, here's a new student, hey Joe, or let's say Mike, for example. Mike, you've been through induction, you know enough to now bring this person in. And then they're all developing skills. So he's bringing that person in and so on. And then I can have them do creative projects that they're sharing. So using the people that are learning the skills to kind of take all the workload off you, but also, you're learning by doing, learning by sharing. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, guys, I just have to change my right controller my battery very quickly. 1 second, please. There you go. That's another thing we should have in there, battery chargers. Always with the freaking batteries, man. Right, 1 second.
Invested in expensive batteries, the Eneloop batteries. I'll send you a link, Daniel. They last about 10 times longer than standard batteries. They're expensive, but they're rechargeable.
Rechargeable, yes.
Anymore. Yeah.
Oh, I need that link. Please give me that link. Okay. Thank you. All right. Anything else from Brian? Are you raising your hand to add something there? Okay. I think if you unmute yourself, you should be okay, or you're hard muted. Brian, where's Brian? So Brian, there you go. Oh yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good to go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I hope you can hear me. I'll talk slow, but I want to add a couple things here. I've kind of been until the last 6 months, and now I've got several people helping me, which is awesome. One thing that I've found that helps out is if you have staff at longest, train them, or if you have train them, then they can go out and can help offload all that training. It's been an enormous help.
We missed, I think, the crucial part of that, Brian. You said when you have staff who are something the longest, that sentence, I think I missed that.
Yeah. So the staff that you want to train others, they are, Jared here, he's learned how to present, how to help out with stuff so it doesn't fall on me to.
Yeah, exactly.
Or as much anyway.
Free yourself up by training others up. Is that the idea?
There's some high schools. At the high school, some of the local.
This is a shame.
There's other places. Any of you guys, your local schools or something?
Brian, I'm so sorry, my friend.
Sorry, Brian. We're only hearing very partial what you're saying, but I think the point is finding the champions at various institutions, whether it's schools. That's been my strategy, is finding those champions. And it could even be the students themselves, right?
Absolutely.
That are just gung-ho and can help train other teachers and other students.
Very good point. Thank you for that, Brian. Frustrating with the microphone, but thank you very much for that. All right. Anyone else? Brent, I think you're raising your hand. Go on, Brent. You can unmute yourself, I think, yeah.
Brent, got you there, bud. Yep, you're good.
Good to go.
I started up a VR club, and we have about 15 members.
Yeah.
And so we have the VR club members helping us do some of the events for like Comic-Cons and stuff like that at our college. So that's finding, like you're saying, or starting up a club at your college or school or something to that effect is pretty helpful.
Yeah, good. Student clubs to develop skills. Excellent. Brendan?
Yeah, so Brent is actually my instructor. And what I'm saying is, so I'm in an internship position, and what we have at the college that we're at is actually like a VR technologist.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much taking all these skills here that we're even talking about today and putting them into, like one person to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these companies that need people to either present or monitor systems or
Yeah.
know every single headset, this is what this position is going to fill for, because you always have developers, right? And you
Right.
always have a company, but developers don't always want to demo what they have going. They want to
Exactly.
make games,
Very good
they don't want to
point.
get people in the headsets. So
Very
that's
good
kind of what we
point.
do at the college, and we reach out to a lot of high schools near us. We reach out to a lot of other schools in the community as well too.
Right.
And just like he said, gather what people are that are interested, get them and have them learn, and they usually return the favor by helping you as well too.
Excellent. Yeah, good point. Thank you very much for that. Okay, wonderful. We're over time a little bit. I'm sorry we've gone over. I'm keen to kind of run over a little bit. If you have to leave, I understand. We'll be putting up the recording later today, but I do hope you stay. We've got one or two more things to come. Running the lab. Now, this is a very long list. I'm sorry for this. I don't want you. Right. I don't want you necessarily reading it all. Again, these are just talking points, but I broke it down a little bit. So let's assume that you've either got a lab or you have or are going to be building a lab. Most important thing is purpose. And I came across this differentiation between a high interaction lab and a low interaction lab. High interaction, that can be defined in two different ways. Either you're interacting with a lot of people, and that's high interaction, or you want to use a lot of technology and haptics and smell and sound and sight and motion. That can be the other side of high interaction, so high-end development side of things. So yeah, obviously you have to consider what your main purpose is going to be. Another way to think about it is this going to be a public lab? Are you going to be working with others here? Are they, is it open to the public? Or is this like a developmental lab for your enterprise and it's just you? I think the setup would be very, very different. Consider, if it is an open public lab, consider that you may be well ahead of the curve, even if you're still learning all the time yourself. Likelihood is the people coming in there for the first time, you have to kind of slow yourself down to their language, to their expectations. They can't have any idea of what to expect, and it's kind of on us to translate what can be done into just the one experience today and try and whet their appetite so they keep coming back. I want to say anything about that? Yeah, Tim, you seem to be agreeing with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you've just said. I have members of staff walking up to my lab door, knocking on the door saying, "Can we have a look, please?" And what they're after is like a half an hour. So actually, they say it's half an hour. It turns into an hour demo session. And of course, once one member of staff has done it, they'll go off and tell someone else.
Yeah.
So quite often every week I'll have hour demo sessions going on, and it's wonderful just to hear that. Oh wow. Oh wow! And that's all you hear. That's all you hear, and it's fantastic. And they walk away so enthused, and that's a wonderful feeling. Wonderful, wonderful. You're right. It is slowing it down.
Yeah, what you were saying earlier about, like just then, about that oh wow moment. Hands up if you've given a headset to somebody and they've just, it's knocked their socks off, right?
Oh yeah.
Somebody's had that. I've taken, on prison walls when people count the days and they notch up the things on the side. I've started notching onto my headset how many VR cherries I've popped. I'm at about 22 at the moment with the one headset.
Oh wow.
Oh wow, yeah. Yeah. I live for that moment. Okay, something I'm quite passionate about, and we're kind of educators in VR are collaborating with a group called XR Access. As this technology develops, and maybe Joe, I'd be interested to hear your take on this, and Jay as well, because of the people you're speaking with, working with. Accessibility for this technology. Accessibility was already difficult, I think, for many people with smartphones and tablets and computers. But now we're talking about headsets, and this technology is for everybody, as it should be. But how can we deal with people who have hearing challenges, visual challenges, mobility challenges, and all of that? And I think, Joe, if you're TAFE, you're dealing with up to 500,000 students. The proportion of there'll be a fair number of people with those challenges. Do you want to say a couple of words about that?
Yeah, sure. So we've spent a lot of time thinking about accessibility, and everything from emotional challenges that some students might have around claustrophobia or other things. But we've one of our learning designers, he's actually in a wheelchair, and he's always at the wrong height of everything. So we've made our environments adjustable. So now all of our content allows him to adjust his settings and his scene, and bring cables down. The other challenge obviously is cables. Like the Quest has been a godsend for him, because he's not having to, if you go and rotate, it's rotating around the chair. So there's some of the considerations. I mean, we're in the process of putting together our immersive production guidelines. And we've got, Liam's done a fantastic job to start, but there's hundreds of considerations we're thinking about.
Wow.
So people with vision impairment or other areas, they're all unique challenges, and they all have to be treated uniquely. So that's, I think, the big thing we have to do.
Can I ask, is that proprietary? Are you going to keep that in-house, or would that be available to the community?
No. So we're non-for-profit. We're government funded. So we'll be sharing that in the upcoming months.
Fantastic. Do you know XR Access, the group?
No.
I'm sure they would love to learn about those considerations you're working on there. I'll try and put you guys in touch. Wonderful. Thank you. What about you, Jay? I mean, you must turn up at a number of different places, all different kinds of settings. What's your thought?
We've done quite a bit of work. Yeah, we've done quite a bit of work in care homes. So there's some unique challenges around that. So we're looking at creating some content where the user interface is more, very excited about hand tracking. And also, we believe gaze control as well, to select menu items and things like that are very useful. So both those technologies. I mean, gaze control has been around for a while, but the hand tracking that like what's coming out with the Oculus Quest, I think some real opportunities there, and it just saves the whole learning curve on clicking right buttons. So we feel that that's very important. Especially in care homes, because sometimes you get people, they have arthritis in their hands, so even something as simple as pressing a trigger button can be a challenge.
Very interesting. True. I was having a conversation also about the integration of speech to text and text to speech. Not quite there yet, but that would be super useful all the time anyway. And for like live translation, if we had an international audience here, maybe from China, from Spain, from South America, whose English wasn't scratch, or the other way around, we were attending other language-based events. If we could have kind of like the YouTube closed caption stuff in different languages, which isn't perfect, but it's getting better, that would be hugely useful to have access to as well.
So we're using an AI. All of our content is driven now by an AI narrator. So we don't actually, because recording audio is a huge amount of work. So all of our content is now driven by Google's WaveNet. So any content that's been developed, our narrator is an AI, and we can change the gender.
You type that in the back end? You type it in the back end?
Oh, so we can change it whenever we want to. So really
perfect.
Helpful. Also, just on the gaze tracking, Jay, I think eye tracking itself, as opposed to gaze, like eye tracking is incredible. I've used the Vario headset. We're just about to get the Pico as well. Especially for people that are less mobile, just being able to sort of look as opposed to move their head if they can't move.
True.
That's
nice one. Tim, what about you? Because I know when we first met, you were talking about helping people with kind of maybe social or communication challenges.
Social and anxiety issues, actually. So you've spoken a lot about physical disabilities. I think that there's two other areas that we do need to just quickly mention.
Please.
One is mental health. So anxiety disorder. I have a student, I'll give you an example. I have a student who has a severe anxiety disorder. His attendance to my classes has been very, very poor. The coronavirus has come for him at a good time. If you want to look at it or give it a positive spin, his attendance is now 100% because we've got all our classes in VR.
Fantastic. There you go. Okay, that's very interesting.
Just one more thing as well. So mental health is incredibly important. We need to consider that in terms of access and diversity. But when we were doing Educators in VR, Daniel, I was running the access and diversity track for the International Summit. And we had a guest speaker who spoke about access and diversity in relation to someone's sexuality.
Okay.
And the LGBTQ plus community having a real big say in the development of things like non-binary avatars, for example. So feeling comfortable as to how you want to be represented in VR is just as important as to how you want to be represented in real life. And I think
interesting.
That's a big area that's also missed sometimes.
Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you very much for pointing that out. There's a couple more things here on the list. I'm not going to go over all of them. Visibility and marketing. Again, if you want to engage the public, then try and find a way of branding your space to make it interesting. Training, induction, health and safety, nausea procedures. I just want to say about the no messing. I'm a bit particular about that. So whenever I do demonstrations with multiple people around, there's always one kid or even staff who go up and tap you on the shoulder, try and freak you out. Like they think it's funny you've got a headset on there, for in the real world they can kind of come up and approach you. I'm quite sensitive about that. So I have a strict, you cannot touch a person in a headset rule, because you don't know what they're experiencing, what state they're in. Not that they're going to be in any particularly bad state or good state, but it's just, you don't touch. That's my rule. Make of that what you will. My rule anyway. Hygiene, we talked about that earlier. Yeah, incredibly important. We don't really even need to say that anymore. Documentation, by that I mean, what do I mean by that? Yeah, training skills, training skills, procedures, protocols, updates. It's a pain in the ass, but I think it can save a lot of time, and it can also give what's the word? Not responsibility, but accountability. I
think your user accounts and group passwords as well. You obviously don't write passwords down, but your user accounts,
you have to manage them.
You have to manage them really carefully. Yeah,
absolutely. That's what I think Brent was saying earlier. Yes. Okay, I think we're almost done. I hope we're almost done. Yes. Okay, this is the last slide, guys. Thank you for sticking with me. And this is one I hope you guys and all of us can contribute on together here, because some of us here have labs, and there was a point at which we had to convince the people, the purse string holders, the powers that be, that this was a good idea. And I would like to learn more, share my experience, and also learn from you about how you overcame that challenge, or what challenges you're facing at the moment. So by this I mean, I started 2 years ago, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I set out very small. I bought myself a new phone for the Gear VR and a cheap 360 camera secondhand, and I went into college and I bought a bunch of Google cardboards, the actual cardboards, and I did staff training with that. I started with what I had. I like Tim was saying, you got to start small, start with what we've got, and you're also not overselling. But I was able to do like a Google expedition tour to the Northern Lights with my colleagues, and make a 360 video and share that, and they got the idea. And off the back of that, I applied for about £10,000 within the college, which we ran a year-long project off as well. I was able to present that to all of the managers, and off the back of that, we got more funding for the lab that I'm about to set up. So small steps got me a long way, which is that first point. Don't wait. If the money isn't available, don't stop. Don't wait. Get started with what you've got. Maybe invest a little bit of your own money. Show what you can. And somebody somewhere will be interested. That's my recommendation. And then we've said this before, find advocates, create fans. Within any institution, there's going to be somebody who's really interested. Rope them in, do something with them small. When I say speak their language, by that I mean the management. If you come to the management with an idea and you're talking about, wow, it's immersive and you can have feel presence, that's not their language. They have learning objectives, they have budgets, they have targets, they have metrics. You learn to speak their language, because actually a lot of the stats around VR in learning are quite convincing and compelling. You can save money, you can save carbon dioxide, you can improve safety, you can improve engagement. Memory retention is questionable, but these kind of things. So think of what's valuable to them. That's my approach. And then the final one, less talk, more action. By that I mean, you can't explain to somebody what it's like to go scuba diving unless they get in the water and go scuba diving, right? So if you really want to convince somebody and you have half a chance, get these people into a headset or into an experience, and make sure it's a good one to start.
Yes,
because a lot of people, their first experience is a mediocre or a bad experience in VR, and then they dismiss it for a long time. So I feel quite a sense of responsibility for the first experience being good. But I wanted to pick your idea, Joe. I mean, were you there at the beginning of the lab, or did you join once the lab had been established?
I wasn't. Well, I was lucky enough to be given the keys to the kingdom, I guess you'd say. The bigger challenge we've had since then is obviously starting to integrate it into the school. So we're about to release some research, and you talked about memory and retention. We're about to release some fantastic research and results of the 3 of the prototypes that we've developed, and that's showing a 40% increase in improvement on the assessment.
Really?
So they're the things, and that's talking in their language as well, right? So the other side, because we are a development and production lab, my goal by year 3 was to be budget zero, so to be not recosting the organization anything. So we're actually making our own money as well. So
how are you doing that?
We're doing commercial projects as well with clients.
Fantastic. So I've missed that, actually. I want to add that to the thing that sorry, just interrupt you for a second.
No, go for it.
When you have access to this equipment, at the moment there's a window of opportunity. Whilst it's not ubiquitous, if you invest in this and you develop the skills and the capabilities to use this in education and training, you can easily reach out to other schools or other organizations and sell or make available those skills to them. It saves them money. Very good point. I want to add that as well.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's been really invaluable for us. And then the other part is getting those champions for us. We've got 1,200 courses, and these skills point areas. There's 9 skills points which focus on industry. Getting them have buy-in and then coming to us. And then the last one is, as you said, get everybody in a headset. You're not allowed to visit our lab if you're not going to get in a headset.
Exactly.
And then we just sent our MD, like similar to a dean in university. Our MD now has he'll have a quest at his house on Monday.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Jay, I think because you actually run a business as opposed to, you're not attached to a school or a college like that, but do you have your clients then asking you to help them set up like more permanent labs and advise their management or something like that? Does that happen?
Yes, that very much so. We have a massive trading estate in Slough, one of the largest in Europe. So lots of European headquarters of organizations. And so what's interesting is some of the students actually come in and support us within those organizations and help set up their own lab. So we've done that for a pharmaceutical company, a chocolate manufacturer that's based locally. So that's really helped. And I think with the point about sticking people in a headset, that's essential.
It's essential, isn't it? Yeah. It's interesting. We're talking to a couple of organizations at the moment who want to collaborate with us or partner with us, and I find it interesting. Some of these people, they're doing a lot of work in the area, but few of them spend even an hour in a headset a week or a month. And for me, if I don't spend an hour in a headset on a day, it's like a missed day almost, a missed opportunity in some ways. Tim, I mean, your manager kind of bought the equipment before you could tell him what to buy. I think you have a very fortunate situation there. But any other points?
Well, I was going to say, I think your management is the key, really. I'm very lucky that the principal, who's at the college, Kurt Salter, he's a fairly young principal, but he's really switched on, and so I'm hoping he's hearing this. He's well behind what we're doing. He loves what we're doing in computing. He loves what we're doing in VR, and he's just putting in a bid for additional funding for another part of the campus, nothing to do with computing, but another part of the campus. And he's come straight to me. He's come straight to me and said, Tim, I've got this amount of budget. What do I do? This is what I'm thinking of. Can you give me some advice? And that's fantastic because you've then established yourself as the person to come to.
The go-to person.
Then you think, exactly. And then when you've got management on board, then really it's then just trying to monetize it. And I get your point totally about going out to other schools, other colleges, and actually going out to small organizations and saying, hey, we could help you with your staff training because for them, staff training costs a lot of money. Exactly. But if your local school or college is saying, hey, we can help you with that, is that not our business? We educate people. It doesn't have to be people enrolling at the college.
Even just a road show, you could take your stuff on the road, and go to 10, 15, 20 regional local schools and show and give them a taste. That could be, you could make.
And you can monetize that at quite a reasonable rate. And
absolutely,
as Joe was saying, try to pay for yourself in the long run.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that, guys. A bunch of you are still here. I want to ask Chris, because you get approached by a lot of organizations in this industry. What do you make of that, getting buy-in? How do you approach it? How do you convince the people that this is a good idea?
Again, most of the time it's finding that champion, right? It's going up the chain and finding the person that's genuinely interested, and then strategizing with them on use cases of what is the use case that you think will grab the attention of your management team and focus in on that.
Very good point. Very good point. And often it's easy, I find, like we have however many 20 departments in the college, and I run around all day. We could do this for that department and that for that department. At an initial level, it's quite easy to find some content that applies to a particular use case, right? So if you're talking to engineering, go on, Chris.
I'm going to give you an example. So I went to a big aluminum factory, right? Burly guys, we're melting there's a lot of danger around these parts, and we go in there and they're like, what the hell is this headset you're going to be putting on us? What is this craziness, right? Honestly, the selling point for them was putting them in first steps and just letting them play and get that concept. Get the concept of, oh my God, I got my hands in here. I understand 6 degrees of freedom. Right. And now all of a sudden they recognize how VR can be used for safety and to safely train their employees. Their mind just opens up. That's the key, man.
Yeah, play is such an important part. I agree with you on that. All right. Anyone else want to add something on the getting buy-in? Yeah, Brent? Yeah, unmute yourself.
Yeah, so what you guys were saying was exactly kind of what we experienced here at college. One thing that I like to do is talk to the recruiters. Give the recruiters maybe an Oculus Quest, so when they go out to the high schools, they can get all the students to come to their table instead of someone else's. So getting high school students and helping out recruiting and marketing, that's a great solution as well.
Cool.
About 6 months ago, we actually had the president of our college contact about 10 state legislators to give them a demonstration to argue for an increased budget for the VR department. And we managed to get about, well, there's a two-part to that, but we secured about $15 million from the state legislators during our demonstration.
Fantastic.
But unfortunately last week, because due to the coronavirus, the governor started implementing a skinny bill, so it's the same budget as always. So it'll probably be until next year. But
maybe you'll have fresh ammunition after. Hopefully, we get back more use cases on. Well, thank you very much. I think we've pretty much covered everything, and I've got the slide up. Questions and discussions. We've kind of gone through the questions and discussions, and I want to thank those of you who stayed till the end. Thank you very much. Joe, Jay, Tim, thank you very, very much. I've really enjoyed discussing those all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Chris, do you want to send us off in style? Should we jump out and do something fun together?
Great.
You got an idea for us?
We always have a finale, don't we?
Yeah. Well, Chris will pull something up, I'm sure. All right. Just hold on to your seats, guys. if all else fails, we can ride Wales again. That was a trip. Oh, here we go. Okay. Here again. Yeah. Yeah, sweet. Is one of my favorite places in the world, let alone VR. And by the way, just before Chris plays this video, like I said, I'm going to be working on this document. I'll try and put it out on Twitter and stay. Any comments you want to make on it or contributions, that'd be wonderful. Thank you for all of your contributions as well, by the way. Excellent.
Thank you, Dad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Boom.
The legendary peak of the Matterhorn that lies on the border of Switzerland and Italy is like an Egyptian pyramid in the center of Europe. It has 4 triangular faces meeting at its summit. The southern slope descends to the Italian side, while the other 3 slopes are on the Swiss side.
Wow.
Being 4,478 meters high, the Matterhorn is only the 5th highest mountain among the Alps. Nevertheless, it is one of the most tough and tricky peaks to climb in the world. Many people have died on the slopes of Matterhorn. Its faces are so deceptive that even the most experienced climbers could not ascend them until 1865. The southern slope remained unconquered for another 66 years.
Wow. So if one of your managers likes rock climbing, you take him here. Fantastic.
This is amazing.
Although all of the Matterhorn ridges and slopes have been climbed today, and guides take large tourist groups to the peak, which makes some of the routes really crowded, still about 10 to 15 people die climbing the Matterhorn every year. Despite the tragedies, the Matterhorn is still clearly one of the most beautiful, mystical, and majestic mountains in the world.
Wow. Amazing. This drone has long range, huh? Huge. Yeah.
The town of Zermatt, which is situated at the altitude of 1,600 meters, enjoys the privileges of such a popular neighbor. It is one of the most popular ski resorts in Switzerland. It is in fact the tourist landmark of the whole country. It offers activities all year round.
So the mountain
There's someone climbing on the mountain. Yeah. A jogger.
Well, they said it was going to get crowded.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Wow.
The bordering Italy benefits from the mountain pretty much in the same way. The southern slope of the Matterhorn is home to a small town called Cervinia. It is an extremely popular ski resort in the country, located at 2,006 meters above sea level.
Climbers, wow. Oh yeah, I can see somebody
it's
walking.
Crazy,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Oh, wow. That is insane.
It does not need to compete with Zermatt. They both simply have to accept the fact that they share the mountain. That is why both resorts have shared ski and tourism.
This is really low-hanging fruit for educators, magic school bus style.
For an active outdoor time in the Alps.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
I mean,
14. This is 1440 resolution, by the way. You can crank this up to 4K. I just wanted to make sure that everybody could play it okay on their system.
Matterhorn has its character.
Yeah, it's coming through well.
At least, that is what the residents of the nearby town of Zermatt are sure of. They say that even the weather in Switzerland...
That's what I love. Jeremy Bailenson book always sticks with me. Experience on demand. For me, this is, you know, when you experience something like this will stay with me. It makes me think of my dad because he took me to see the Matterhorn. Obviously not from the top, but I wish I could show my dad this.
Some people claim that everybody who has seen the Matterhorn
will
be fortunate and rich. We are inviting you to admire this famous natural monument. And who knows?
That's amazing. Yeah, you want to wave at them, eh?
Just come true for you.
Unbelievable. Thanks, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Oh, wow.
Have you got snow as well?
Oh, I don't have snow. Bring in the clouds here.
Yeah, cool. Oh, Joe, I completely forgot to ask you, because you made a replica of your lab in Altspace, didn't you? Is that a private world, or is that something people can go and visit?
You can. I'm trying to work out exactly how to get people so they can come and check it out, but I'll definitely invite you.
You might want to talk to Laurel. Talk to Laurel about making the specs so that it's stable for other people to visit. She could help you with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, it is. We're talking to a bunch of the Altspace developers now.
No problem, man.
I want to talk to Chris as well, because we're using that as a test bed for all the different platforms.
Yeah, lovely, cool. Yeah. Maybe next time if we do this again, we could do it in your lab.
Yeah, sure. Oh.
Amazing. Oh, that's a glacier beneath us here. Wow. All right, Chris, thank you so much for that.
You bet.
All right, guys. So much, my friend. All right, guys.
Yep. Take care. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you, everybody. I hope it was
everybody.
useful in some way, and see you soon, guys. Stay safe, stay well.
Thanks,
all right, thanks, Joe. Thanks, Tim, everybody. Jay.
It's good to see you.
And Chris, yeah. All right.
Stay safe, everyone.